Victor Diz. Victor Diz. Sarah is 29 years old, pulling in $58,000 a year and carrying $45,000 in consumer debt. This burden quietly stresses out millions of Americans every single month. Alex is the exact same age, same income, and staring at the exact same $45,000 debt load. Student loans, a car note, and credit cards that never seem to shrink. After all, minimum payments. Both have exactly $650 left over every month. Same starting line, same pursuer. The only difference is what they choose to do with that extra cash. Sarah decides to go full Dave Ramsey mode. She attacks her debt with gazelle intensity. Every extra dollar goes straight toward the smallest balance first. Debt snowball style. No investing, no distractions, until every last dime of consumer debt is completely gone. Alex follows what every finance pro YouTuber and TikTok investor swears is the mathematically optimal strategy. He makes only the required minimum payments on his debt and funnels all $650 straight into a low-cost S&P 500 index fund. After all, the stock market has historically returned around 10% per year. His blended debt interest rate sits closer to 8 to 9%. On paper, why kill relatively cheap debt when you could be earning more in the market? Both of them are absolutely convinced the other person is making a massive mistake. Sarah thinks Alex is delusional for willingly paying banks interest while hoping the market magically bails him out. Alex thinks Sarah is leaving huge money on the table by delaying compound interest for years just to feel debt-free. So who actually comes out ahead after 5 years? After 10 years? The answer might shock both of them, and it reveals why Dave Ramsey's approach might be more right than the spreadsheet warriors want to admit, but for a reason he almost never talks about out loud. Let's run the numbers fairly, and honestly, Sarah and Alex both have $18,000 in student loans at 5.8% interest, $15,000 left on a car loan at 6.9%, and $12,000 on credit cards at 21%. Total debt, $45,000. That number feels painfully familiar to a lot of people right now. For the first 18 months, Alex looks like the clear winner. He's automatically investing $650 every month into the market. With steady compound growth, his portfolio climbs past $18,000, while his debt slowly shrinks through minimum payments. He's still going out to eat, still enjoying weekends, and getting that satisfying dopamine hit every time he checks his brokerage app and sees the green line going up. Sarah, she's living lean rice and beans most nights, picking up extra weekend shifts. Every spare penny goes straight to the credit cards. She wipes out the $12,000 credit card balance in about 9 months, then immediately rolls that freed-up payment into the car loan and starts hammering away at it. At the 2-year mark, the scoreboard looks like this. Alex has roughly $17,500 in investments and still owes about $36,000 in debt. Net worth, negative $18,500. Sarah has zero invested but only about $21,000 left in debt. Net worth, negative $21,000. Alex is ahead by a few $1,000s on paper, and he didn't have to live like a monk to get there. His friends pat him on the back and tell him he's playing the game smart. But this story doesn't end at year 2. Every month Alex keeps that credit card balance open. He's quietly bleeding serious interest, sometimes over $200 a month at 21%. On paper, he's earning 10% in the market, but after taxes, his real after-tax return drops closer to 7 to 8%. The spread on his high-interest debt is deeply negative. He's not optimizing his money. He's subsidizing the bank's quarterly profits. Sarah crosses the finish line around month 38. All $45,000 of debt gone. She still remembers the exact moment she made her final payment. Her entire paycheck suddenly belonged to her again. No more minimum payments. No more interest quietly draining her account. No more juggling due dates. She builds a solid 3 to 6 month emergency fund in high-yield savings, then starts investing aggressively, putting about $1,450 a month into her 401k and brokerage accounts combined. That's more than double what Alex is investing at the same point. Now the math begins to flip dramatically. By the end of year 10, Sarah has zero debt, a fully funded emergency fund, and a portfolio worth roughly $180,000 to $195,000. Alex has finally paid off his last student loan around year 8, but his portfolio sits between $155,000 and $170,000. Sarah ends up ahead even though she invested for fewer total years. How? First, she paid dramatically less interest overall, easily saving $14,000 to $20,000 that would have gone straight into lenders' pockets. That money went into her investments instead. Second, once she became debt-free, her monthly investment firepower jumped significantly higher than Alex's gradual increases. Bigger, consistent contributions compound much faster over time. But here's the part that spreadsheets never capture. This entire comparison assumed Alex was perfect. It assumed he invested every single month for 10 straight years without ever missing a contribution. Never skipped during a job change or medical bill. Never sold when the market dropped 25% or 30% in a single quarter. Never pulled money out for a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity or emergency. In real life, almost nobody behaves that perfectly. Multiple long-term studies show that the average individual investor earns 3% to 5% less per year than the S&P 500 itself. Why? Because of emotional decisions. Buying high when everyone is excited. Selling low during crashes. Chasing hot trends. And letting fear or greed take over at exactly the wrong moments. Alex's mathematically optimal plan only works if Alex turns into a robot for an entire decade. Sarah's plan doesn't require superhuman discipline during market chaos. During her first 3 years, she had no portfolio to panic sell. Every single dollar she sent to debt was a guaranteed, permanent win that could never be taken away by fear or a bad headline. That's the hidden power of Dave Ramsey's approach that most critics miss. It's not purely about the cold math, or even the moral argument that the borrower is slave to the lender. It's deeply behavioral. His method removes the single biggest threat to most people's financial future, which isn't high interest rates or mediocre market returns. It's you. It's your own emotions, impulses, and human imperfections. Paying off debt first delivers quick psychological wins that build real momentum. Each small balance you kill gives you a tangible victory and keeps you motivated to keep going. Once the debt is gone, the sudden surge in cash flow feels incredibly freeing and makes aggressive investing much easier and more sustainable. Of course, there are smart exceptions worth mentioning. If your employer offers a generous 401k match, especially anything above 50% on the first 6% of your salary, take the free money first. That's an instant 50 to 100% return that beats paying down almost any debt. Capture the full match, then go aggressive on the remaining debt with everything else. If all your debt carries very low interest rates below 5%, the case for investing while carrying it becomes genuinely compelling. A 4% student loan versus a long-term 10% market return creates a meaningful gap that can favor investing, but only if you actually stay disciplined. The gray zone sits between 5% and 8% in that range. The right choice depends on your personal tax situation, your risk tolerance, and most importantly, your honest self-assessment of how well you'll actually behave when markets get ugly. The question almost nobody asks themselves brutally enough is this: are you actually going to invest that extra money every single month for the next 10 years, no matter what the stock market does? Not do you plan to? Are you going to set up automatic transfers and never touch the money even when your portfolio drops 30% and the news is screaming about the next recession? If your honest answer is anything less than yes, 100%, no matter what, then getting debt-free first is almost always the safer, more reliable path. Sarah and Alex started in the exact same place with the same debt and the same $650 monthly surplus. One chose intensity and freedom first. The other chose optimization on paper. 10 years later, the one who got completely debt-free fastest ended up with more money in the bank, far less stress, and way more financial options in life. The best financial plan isn't the one that looks smartest in a spreadsheet. It's the one you'll actually finish when life gets messy, when emotions run high, and when real-world temptations show up. So the next time someone confidently tells you that paying off debt early is leaving money on the table, ask them one simple, honest question. Would you actually leave that money on the table, or would you just end up spending it on something else? Because that single, truthful answer is what really decides which strategy will work best for you.